And we approach it by individualizing the tourists. You don't say all tourists. So if you get to approach people, when you individualize it, it gives them a more sense of being there for them. So they would say the same thing that is written down with, should anything happen, I will be taken off because there's an exact team that is there waiting for them in case their health is affected. What are the foreseen and expected impacts of this in the future? For Mount Kilimanjaro specifically, that would be a significant decrease in the number of deaths and critical cases, and increased number of summits. This in itself comes into an economical point of view, and there's valued assurance to tourists and evaluating tour agents, and recognition by international insurance companies, and creation of employment. Overall, it ultimately increases the national economy recognition. So the health and safety services has to be tailored into tourism. It can't be what is being attended at the local can't be taken directly into tourism, because there are things to be considered within tourism by the culture, the perceptions and the expectations, and also by what you expect, what sicknesses and diseases that you might expect for our clients to have along the way during their trip. So we look at the quality, reliability, the effectiveness, and is even this health service sustainable? Kilimanjaro is one of the first places that we took into consideration because it has a double risk. The risk that you find down on a low altitude, that is trauma and normal physiological conditions, but also in itself, that stands out itself is high altitude sicknesses that are the major causes of illnesses for everyone on Kilimanjaro. And because of this, the mode of approach came into three directions. The first responders who are always at Mount Kilimanjaro, that's the tour guides and the rangers. These are the ones who are always with the clients and most close to the clients, and they can do something first before anyone arrives to them. And the second mode would be ground medical services. This is for specialized wilderness medicine doctors who are on ground. They are capable of treating some conditions that patients don't need to get down. They can continue to summit. And if it's a condition that needs to be treated immediately by advanced life support, they are capable of doing it at the same time. And this is what creates the assurance to our clients. And should all this should not go well, there is air medical services, that's a helicopter evacuation. This is because it is one of the quickest and the most flexible transportation in the world. You can land at least anywhere and at any height if you have an experienced pilot. And with this service, it comes, you have a doctor on board. When he lands and sees a client or a patient, he can treat even before coming down to the base or to lower base. So these are the practical sessions, having training to the rangers of Mount Kilimanjaro, tour guides, and also porters at some point would have to have a basic training on how to have a basic life support for all their clients and tourists at Mount Kilimanjaro. And these are some of the medical services. We had the first COVID-19 in Mount Kilimanjaro, and we gave medication that wouldn't be licensed if there was no doctor in Mount Kilimanjaro. And this is at the far left, that's one of our oldest mode of transportation. We do not take it out of consideration. We never phase it out. It is very important. So it stays there because there's a time that you will need it. And if it's phased out and the time that we needed it was taken out, we'll have a bit of a trouble besetting a patient when we are unable to go there. And these are some of our clients who are being taken to Mount Kilimanjaro. We have a porter who has had a fracture at Mount Kilimanjaro, and we have some of our clients who we take at Mount Kilimanjaro with emergency evacuated registered helicopter Mount in Tanzania. And amongst other things, it's not just about the clients, but safety in itself. So we do a regular basis to be able to survey Mount Kilimanjaro with the rangers and the officials. So you know where it's concentrated, what are the things that you should consider when maybe you have a camp with so many clients that you cannot handle them. How do you disperse it? So we do a cruising all around and all the way from Mount Kilimanjaro. At the end of it, tourism, because we need to approach it holistically, then we have to invest into a different ventures of, we talk about branches that have not ventured into tourism. Health was one of them in Tanzania. And so the way that we approach it is the way that other institutions that haven't ventured into tourism should, because we need to supply all services that are needed to any community. So these are statements by one of the UN Secretary General and the UNWTO. So the ultimate question is, does the world know how serious Tanzania tourism has invested in safety and rescue? So if they don't know, they will have to question themselves, they will have worries. I'm going to Tanzania, I don't know. If I'm going to Mount Kilimanjaro, I've read in the internet, this can happen and that can happen. But do they know that there's a team that will be there for them to actually make things work in case anything should go wrong? So this is the team in Mount Kilimanjaro with the porters and guides showing that Mount Kilimanjaro is now safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Abid, for your topical presentation. Issues of health tourism, I think, are critical. I welcome the previous three presenters to take seats, and then we shall ask some questions. And if one clarification, I think this is the time to request for that clarification. So the presenters to take their seats, and we welcome Dr. Mato to come and moderate this session.
Thank you, Dr. Sadia. And also I'd like to welcome the presenters, they are here, and also to commend for the nice presentations from the presenters. So please, dear members, I'll take this opportunity to invite you if you have comments, questions. The presenters, they are ready. So please, so you can also make sure that you try to introduce yourself and also to tell us the way you direct the questions to each presenter.
Yeah. Compliments to PDMET for the excellent work you do on safety and security. That's all very clear, so no questions for you. I have a common question on the presentation of your study on Chinese tourists, which is a very interesting topic. Nowadays, the projects we're doing are 3-4 times a year in China. We get also many questions from other destinations. How can we attract Chinese tourists? And you already made a very comprehensive overview of what is all required by Chinese tourists, what marketing you can do to attract Chinese tourists. One point that we started thinking about more and more is also next or related to that. What can you do to attract Chinese investments The last time I was in Nairobi, for example, I stayed in a Chinese-owned hotel. So then you're going to see everything you mentioned, Chinese make sure it's in place. There's no fourth floor in the hotel. There's no room ending with number 4 in the hotel. There's Chinese food, everything is in place. They get all the Chinese stores there only at the day 1 and the last day of their trips to China. They make up with a Kenyan-based tour operator to take them around for safaris a couple of days, and then they're off again. So 2 nights in their hotel. The rest is all done with Kenyan operators. But they make sure they do the marketing. They have the connections. So there it's so important to get these Chinese investors here, to get a Chinese-owned hotel, for example here in Arusha, that they can stay here the first and the last day of the holidays, and from there, of course, these Chinese investors will link up with Arusha-based operators who will organize a 5-day safari. But my question is, do you have ideas or any suggestions on how to attract these Chinese investors? Because that would give such a boost, I think, to tourism from China to Tanzania.
That's very good comments or also questions, so probably we give you time to respond. So members, please, any more questions or comments based on the presentations? Yes, I can see the hand.
So my question is also directed to the Chinese tour study. And I wonder, you shared with us briefly that the Chinese have the tendency to litter, but then the Chinese have the tendency to litter, to leave their rubbish around, you mentioned briefly. But at the same time, they are not interested in any detailed explanation. And as the team is today, we also discuss green investments, so also sustainability. Yeah, you probably feel them coming. What are you thinking about? How could we educate this new market regarding how to demonstrate responsible and sustainable behavior? Because, of course, we want more tourists, we want to grow. But what the team is also today, how do we do this sustainably? Because then we can do it at the same time, I think.
That's good. Also, that is normally the Chinese story was very fantastic. So, both get prepared. Then more questions.
Thank you so much. I would like to ask something concerning the tourists, Chinese tourists, but tour agents from China. We know the rest of other continents, the other nations, they have tour agents from those countries linked up with the other operators within the country. Thank you. Maybe do you know any the numbers, because those everything was so detailed, but there was nothing about the agents. Thank you.
Agents. Okay. Good. Okay. More questions? Please, so that way once we respond, then we'll go through the question session.
Thank you. My name is Musa. On the same Chinese study, I'm a bit curious about the sampling. I mean, those who gave you the information, how did you pick your sample? Because I would wish to see how representative the sample is in as far as the industry is concerned.
Okay, thank you. Do we have also questions for the other presenters? Because Professor will be tired for the question. All right.
Well, Dr. at the end, health, tourism. My question is not exactly on like rescue search part, but I don't seem to find much information on health and wellness tourism. Is there a market here? Is anyone doing anything of that nature here in Tanzania?
Thank you. Members, do you have also questions on the other papers?
Thank you very much. My name is Engelbert. I'm the chairman of Northern Tanzania Safari Guide, so I'll directly go to Professor Nuribu for Chinese. As my boutique experience, you say that Chinese people sometimes they have got no time to discuss about the wildlife and other attractions because they have got no time. I can say because one of the reason is the communication barrier, because most of the Chinese people they don't speak English. So we guys speak English. So between two there is a barrier. So the only thing is to take photo and off you go. Elephant, done, you go. So my advice, maybe if there is any possibility to make them understand what's really happening in the wild, if there is any translation kind of during your safari when you're talking to the Chinese or interpreting something concerning the wildlife, so that they can understand what you are really talking about. So this rushing is because of the communication barrier, number one. So it can be also the pulling factor. You are talking about the Chinese market. Do we have the accommodations and food for them? Because Chinese culture is a bit different than other Western countries. You can't compare with the Europe and the Americans. And as you can see, if you can find them in the bush, they are all together in a group. You can't see someone is interfering or with them in one let's say safari. So what shall we do to make sure that they can be attracted to visit Tanzania? To me, I can say, let's say the number one. This guy was asking about the accommodations and food. That is factor. Number one, it can be one of the pulling factor. So we have many investors, but not Chinese in the wild, in terms of accommodations. So what shall we do that are in our wild, in our protected areas, or close or adjacent to the protected areas, where there is some Chinese investments, so that they can be attracted? Because if you tell one Chinese, they normally trust each other, so they can come direct. Arusha, if Karatu, then there is Chinese accommodation, or in the Serengeti, there is Chinese accommodation. This is all what I can say. Thank you.
Thank you. I have two questions, one for Media and another for Roderick. For King Media, the presentation was very interesting, but what we want to know, the scale of the operation was like, where do you operate? How do you make yourself known? Have you put on ground so that your services may be known and may be subscribed? Perhaps it's not bad to tell us whether people are subscribing or not. And then to Roderick and the colleague, I have a question on private and infrastructure pillar, where the mean score was around 2.8 or so. And according to the scale that you used, data analysis and interpretation of it, it's like that was not very bad. That was not very bad. But I know from practical point of view that one of the problems we are facing, the tourism industry Tanzania is facing, is lack of a national career. That's a big problem. And I was a little bit not happy to see that the tourists scored didn't be that high. They were expected to be scored 1 according to interpretation, 1 to 2, which is very bad. So, what does the mean score that you have in your presentation, does it mean?
All right, thank you for the questions. So let us give the opportunity to the presenter to respond. Maybe start with the professor. Professor, are we ready to receive Chinese? And we ask again, are you also ready? So
thank you all for your questions. Quite much really. It seems like the tourism in the Chinese world possibly is likely to be another big block in the near future. And I wish to see that happening. Right. Good number of questions. One from my very senior UNWTO himself, yeah. I think with regard to accommodation, I possibly think this destination had to put up the structures, the infrastructure necessary to bring the Chinese market. We understand now that the Chinese are different from the Netherlands, the Dutch, and the likes, yeah? So it is good to have accommodation of their style, the food of their style. And I think it is really important for TIC, Tanzania Investment Center, to understand that it is time to bring the Chinese investors to our country. So they could possibly do some marketing in China. Just like what they do elsewhere. You know, I believe Chinese are happy to come and do investments similar to any other nationality nations in Africa. But I think it could also be not only TIC, therefore the entire government, and even the private sector, you can approach them, because a private individual might be happy and more, easy to bring up an investor than the government. Yeah. What I understand what the government does is look at the enabling supportive environment to ease up the process of investment. Because Kenya has done it, it's an excellent example to grow a leaf road. So he might jump into Kenya and ask how better they have managed. It seems like quite a doable thing, in my view. So I'm not sure whether I rightly answered or responded to your question, but let me just say that for now. Littering and them being environmentally less sensitive. It may sound like an accusation, to a particular big population of that. And it could also be because these guys come in a crowd, big team. So the noisy are very much. But it could also be a little bit of a cultural thing, that talking among themselves is entertaining. So it is up to us, the destination, and I mean the service provider, the guiding industry, the tour operators, and the government to educate. What I understand is every destination has the do's and don'ts. Yeah? If you're driving in Serengeti, Tarangire, there are things that are permitted and not. So off-roading, littering, there are these signs that tells. Maybe we convert them into China. But let's train more guys who speak the Chinese language to be able to communicate the message. Let organizations like TANAPA, World Conservation, Tower, and the likes, and even museums and others, let them work to bring up the language of Chinese in their leaflets and websites and stuff. Maybe I don't like say Chinese and really damage or done the nasty stuff in destination like one. I think they are capable just like another person. Yeah, so you can wisely approach that and you take that way. Of course, we are pro-conservation, pro-environment. We are sensitive to nature, quite a lot. And I think they will also them eating up an animal or asking whether it's edible or not. You can simply say, in our case, no. In your case, yes, but at least an animal is safe while it's here in Tanzania, not as a palatable dish. Sampling procedure. My brother, you posted this question yesterday, and you're bringing another similar question today. Okay. The presentation that I made has been published. The paper is online. The procedure where it is a qualitative research. We followed the qualitative research design, and we collected data. We justified our findings, published in a high international peer-reviewed paper. So I can provide, and you might want to question, of course, and maybe create a research project for yourself. What else? Engelbert happened to be Engelbert Koro, the chairperson for Tour Guide Association in Arusha, was one of my respondents when I made this study. So his views are captured in my work. So at least he has said his personal experience with Chinese tourism, and I believe what I just presented reflected quite much of what you have said and what other guys have said. It was very difficult for me to engage with the real Chinese tourists in the then time because again COVID was happening, but just about to start. But again, the population of Chinese coming to Tanzania is quite small as well. So I made a decision to engage with the guide who had an understanding, better picture of the Chinese, they've been interacting with them. Whether there was a question again from my brother here, I'm not a Chinese expert for sure. I'm trying to become one or to be one, maybe in the near future. I have no clue of any agent. Did you say in China? Or in Tanzania? In China. And that call could be helpful. I understand the Gosheni guys are quite engaged with the Chinese tourists. Am I right? London? Or in other? Yes, mining? Yes. And who else? Maybe you might also take a step and join the market. Sina habari hiyo sana. Najua tumia au basi. Shukrani.
So I'll respond to the first question about health tourism in Tanzania. Health tourism is something that is actually being initiated. It's very new into our country. It's because of the Ministry of Health has been building hospitals, has been bringing a lot of infrastructures. So it's something that is really beginning, and it still has a lot to be done. So if it's something of your interest, we can connect you to the right people who can actually take you through it. Thank you. And I've got a question on how we operate, where we are based, and how we get ourselves to be known in probably in Tanzania and to the world. We are based in Moshi, at the Moshi Airport, and also have a wilderness medicine clinic, and that's the place we decided in Tanzania because it's the place that in tourism had the highest risk of clinical patients that have to be intervened. And so this was our first project and ongoing project for Mount Kilimanjaro, but we're not solely bound to Mount Kilimanjaro. We also do evacuation and rescues in Serengeti and Ngorongoro. Yeah. But rarely, it's few times that they actually happen. I remember it's about 3 times until now since we started that we're critically ill. And in getting ourselves to be known, we have approached and been approached by a number of youth organizations, both within the country and outside of the country. Outside of the country, the most that we have gone to is BBC, and we're expecting to have another presentation nationwide with BBC again soon. And within the country, we're still working on it because it's one thing to go alone outside into the country to represent yourself. It's another thing to have the hand of the government support you in it. And so we are still on that. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to respond to a question from Dr. Salia, which was on why we used in our presentation the term bad performance among one of the pillars, since in our presentation we based much on 4 main pillars, and we were looking on the tourist feedback based on those pillars. And our scores went from 1.0 to 2.0, which was very unsatisfied, and 2.0 to 3.0 was unsatisfied, whereas from 3.0 to 4.0 was satisfied. So based on these findings, infrastructure was seems to have unsatisfied, was fall under 0, the score of 2.0 to 3.0. So probably maybe the term bad performance or poor performance might be not appropriate, but the appropriate term here was supposed to be unsatisfied. Maybe if my colleague has something else,
On top on what Roderick has just said, Dr. Salia is asking, he was expecting the infrastructure to have lower scores than what is scored. You are right, but not both correct and right, because you really know when it comes to measures of centrality in statistics, whereby we ourselves use the mean and standard deviation, we had the categories, subcategories of infrastructure. And if you go through, when we were ranking these categories of infrastructure, ground transport score high, so it swallowed even the scores of other subcategories like air, port, railway, and so forth. Therefore, one of the category in the subcategories of the infrastructure swallowed the scores, the lowest scores of the general pillar. That was the scientific and the statistical reason. Thank you.
Well, thank you, presenters, for your comments. So actually, what you can say that we have grasped of knowledge based on papers and presentations, and we were able also to utilize some of the issues you have raised. So, so to finalize, I appreciate Charles and also Rodri, and also Professor Medugo, as well as Dr. Minja. I want to give a big thanks to them. Let me take back the mic to Dr. Salia to proceed with other session.
Thank you, Dr. Mato, for leading us in the discussion. And thank you, the presenters, for very nice presentations and your ability to respond to the questions perfectly. And I can see from the faces of the people I have followed myself that the answers were satisfying. Now we are about to close this event. But before that, I think there are two things that I want to do. One is to give the proposers some minutes to say, because I cut them short when they were standing here, and my conscience tells me that it wasn't fair. And then I'll give Reza 2 or 3 minutes to say anything. And then you have said anything, Professor Manamba, who is the Western Deputy Director for Academics, Research and Consultants, will, at this Institute of Accountancy Arusha, will close the event with a special speech. And now, please bear with me. I want to people say really big, take some minutes because my conscience tells me that I was rude. And then later you say few words, some closing words. Of course, not official, but at least closing words because we are blessed to have you with us here. And Professor Manamba will read the closing speech. There are several water points outside. This water you see here is not only special for the people who are sitting in front. You can take any bottle, open it, there are glasses there. Whenever you see water point, just grab the opportunity and quench your thirst. So I welcome people from Sierra Leone, and please bear with me. Just listen to them.
Thank you, Doctor. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, we are not anything about you being good to us. So we really appreciate for the opportunity to stand before you this afternoon. And because we as sponsors were hesitant, but being part of this occasion is very powerful. And it has caused a lot into our minds in terms of how we can go beyond traditional therapy. It's very critical that we think of how can we take part into providing solutions in terms of the gaps that have been identified. Thinking of collaborating with the institutions that are doing research and development into addressing the tourism challenges. Coming into issues related to training and capacity building to people involved in tourism, thinking of tour guides who cannot speak Chinese. How does financial institutions, how can CRB take part into addressing the challenge? But also about how do we devise mechanisms in terms of addressing the challenges related to environmental challenges. Now, that brings us as a financial institution not thinking of bringing financial solutions to constructing hotels or offering loans for personal consumption or anything, but going beyond that. So today, to showcase that, we are coming before you with a very short presentation. While we think of all those things that I've just mentioned, to address the supporting sustainable tourism business and practices in terms of green planet financing. My colleague mentioned earlier here that the bank has been accredited by GCF, Green Planet Financing, to offer green-based financing across the continent. Now, what have we started doing? My colleague will take us through. So, Dr. Saria, please, you are not going to do anything. We are in class here. We are learning how we can go beyond banking and provide real solutions to economic aid to tourism and become a part of sustainable tourism in the country and beyond. So I welcome you. I will take my very conversation.
Thank you, Mr. David. Hello, everyone. It was good to now to meet you again. I'll be very brief to make sure I give you what we have, and because we are here in Arusha and everywhere in Tanzania, so we'll be very much happy to meet with us and discuss more about how we can do in the tourism sector. My name is Jairo. I'm working as a senior specialist in environmental social management system in sustainable finance department at CRB. By my introduction, that CRB has been leading and committed in sustainability, and as Ben says, that for now we have this tool, which I don't want to take much of your time. We have opportunity of the green bond. Again, I say it's Kijani Italy, but also we are in climate finance space. CRB has been accredited, is so accredited by the Green Climate Fund, which is part of the UNFCCC finance mechanism. And for Tanzanians, we are on a local again. So for this, we understand that, as Peter said, David said, that we've been in financial sector, we've been doing a lot in tourism. with a positive value chain. But for today, for now, we want to share what we have on hand and grab this opportunity together to make sure we maintain this. So through green bond and through digital. As I said, that if we will know and understand that the responsible tourism is key for now, and we need to respond on how things work, as you guys have been presented from the various presenters here. So what we have now, let me start with the green bond. I don't want to tell what does it mean, but to make sure that we have open opportunity of two parts. For you to be an investor and invest in green tourism and in green bond, we call it Kijani. So Serving has a very consolidated green social and sustainability framework, and then hence we come to the issue of bond. Now, why I'm here is that we want this to give the use of proceeds to the various environmentally friendly activities, including among others in green agriculture, in responsible green buildings. And this now is where even it comes, is where employees value chain, you can mention. So again, I say we welcome to make sure we sit down and to see what you have, and make sure you guys, we take our chance and you take your chance to make sure we grab this opportunity. The same to the green transport, the same to the energy efficiency, the responsible use of water and the renewable energy, including solar and farm. But also the recycling and responsible material supply chain, the famous as circular economy. Just in very snapshots, I want to show like, what do you think if we can sit and try to understand how we guys, there are some people, the chairman, the chairman, how if we can increase on, I can certainly give a chance to finance and to work together on the renewable energy powered touristic cars and related, the same to the accommodation. I know there is hiking the bicycle. We're very much happy to see the opportunity there. But also, I know it's not well pronounced to have the e-cars, but I know that it started. So this is point of interest in the company, and I want to sit down and certainly to champion this and make it very key to our efforts. Other things have been, this picture has been put for demonstration, but we're very much happy to discuss more how we can do it. We have been financed, yes, in tourism, in the camps, the eco camps, to both like in Gogoro and Serengeti. But this is an example of what is how do you think if we can facilitate you in solar? What do we want, like the use of proceeds from the green bond? We can now use a chance for you to take it and then increase in valuable way. My colleague Peter said here, David, that we have a lot being learned from others. All those measures, still you can see how, because we are very committed to make sure we support this, including, I think solar is something very common for several things, and they are there already started with their camps, in accommodations, in tent and everything. We will very much have to see what you guys in the financing and discuss together. This is just a sample example. What do you think if we started here in Arusha to have the green apartment or accommodation? And even a house. We will be very much start this. The flow of waste energy is something mentioned and committed to our sustainability commitment, and we have set aside something we work together. Even the responsible consumption of the material supply in tourism and furniture. We know you guys have got some initiative in to reduce and recycle and reuse, but also to make sure you use all that to go to the net zero initiatives. I know there's some companies that started in cars and everything, but everyone we think who have one partner, we also work on that. We think of the other things, and we can also continue even second. I know there is a lot in the community responsibility as far as the division of ecotourism and as a sustainable tourism is concerned. So we will be very much happy. We are very familiar with the conservation or use of territories. We need very much support. I know you guys have a lot to think on which, but also conservation of the nature, even in nurseries, support community trees, everything, whatever you have, across the whole chain of the trees. Wow. So this is all about what we think we link on with the green boundaries because you can link with the as you have. And this is now we see our levels for us to contribute to all the things saying we and the financing. And here you are the local finance and which can be a partner to support everyone, even through the see how we meet. And I'm very excited because of now from the Green Climate Fund. We know, as I said, this is, I don't take long for this. We also been accredited. What does it mean? Like, a certain bank can work as a partner and have some funding flow from the UN itself and put it down to the local communities. For this, I'm speaking, we are going to support kind of the certified or green agriculture. I know it's something needed in that tourism. So I try to leave this as last, but also I think also we have a lot of opportunity to make sure we grab this opportunity for make sure we also let what have been said of all topics in the crisis. For saying so, I promise to not use much time. We will welcome you. We are here in Arusha and everywhere, and we'll be chatting here. And we really very much have to receive more questions, especially in Green Month. I encourage you to invest in the 5 days to show closely the IPO and the initial program. But also, we want to sit down and make sure those things we put it in reality in tourism, so that all being said, next year we will hear we do something. And thank you for your time. Thank you very much.
We gave the presentation and we have understood partly and we shall learn to understand more as we continue interacting. Asante sana. I thank you for that initiative, which shows that the bank is really creating. Now, before I welcome you, I must say, I want to request the presenters to send me the links of the papers that we requested so that they can read. Then that's how we can disseminate knowledge that we presented here. So the link of papers so that I can make it more available for people to read and enjoy material. And I welcome Mr. Marcel to say a few words, and then I welcome Professor Manamba to work. Thank you.
Asante. Thanks. There's been a long and interesting session today, as was yesterday. And I just want to say I'm so glad to see how World Tourism Day is being celebrated here in Arusha with all tourism stakeholders. So a special word of thanks to those organizations involved who have organized this. Institute of Accountancy of Arusha and Rethinking Tourism for Africa, who've taken the lead to organize this event. As I said at the beginning, it's basically, it always feels as our happy birthday. So happy birthday of the whole tourism sector of this World Tourism Day. And it's so good to see how this is taken up in different countries, how this is celebrated, how many stakeholders are there. Also a word of thanks to all the sponsors who also showed their commitment to the tourism sector and to this celebration of how tourism contributes to sustainable development, how it contributes to building sustainable livelihoods and building green economy through tourism. And a special word of thanks to all the people who invested so much time to prepare the papers, to present their papers. It shows also the interest that, especially I think the academic sector here is showing in tourism development. So relevant papers that are being presented. And I think that all these people together, from private sector, from the government we have here, from academic institutions, together with the sponsors and the civil society, the NGOs, you really have a very good network to further make tourism work for sustainable development, to help it invest in green economies and help build or contribute to building sustainable livelihoods. So I wish you very good luck. We continue celebrating World Tourism Day. That's the last point I want to make. I mean, you started yesterday, the official event started today in Saudi Arabia, continues till tomorrow. And it's online, you can view it on our website, unwho.org. So those who are interested to continue the celebrations, you're very welcome to visit our website. Thank you all for being here and for celebrating World Tourism Day with us.
Thank you very much, Manager of Technical, giving up your TO. Asante sana, karibu sana. I think you know good time to go to the places where you were there in 1990s. Visit the old friends and enjoy culture and improvements in culture that you can place. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome Professor Manamba to officially address this session and close it officially.
Invited guests from the touristic industry, IAA members, management and staff are present this afternoon. Rethinking Tourism Africa, presenters, organizing committee from IAA and RTA, members the press, all participants. I'm honored to be here today to formally close the Arusha International Tourism Conference 2023, an event which I believe is vital to strengthening tourism in Tanzania and across the globe. It is fitting that this year's conference was opened in Arusha, a seat that is located below Mount Meru, on the eastern edge of the east branch of the Great Rift Valley, the city that is close to the Serengeti National Park, the Ngorongoro Conservation Area, Lake Manyara National Park, Abvai Gorge, Tarangire National Park, Mount Kilimanjaro, and Arusha Park. I wish to commend the Institute of Accountants Arusha and Rethinking Tourism Africa for their tremendous work in pulling together an event of this scale and significance. I also wish to acknowledge the delegates who have traveled long distance to be here in Arusha for this conference and expo and they make important contributions to tourism and green investment. We have learned a lot about sustainability, regional tourism, tourist experience, and satisfaction as well as resilient tourism. Indeed, gatherings like this conference are vital for generating ideas and sharing stories from different communities around the world. Today, I would like to reinforce the central role that perspectives on sustainability, green investment, quality of services, and identity, as well as nationality can offer in an area of mass tourism. I understand that the theme of this year's conference and expo is tourism and green investment. This theme speaks to the role that we play on natural resources sustainability and the responsibility of preserving and protecting these natural resources for future generations. We all know that tourism suffered large losses during 2020, 2021. Capital investment, including foreign direct investments, also dropped sharply. Now, statistics show that tourism industry has recovered. Nevertheless, green investment needs to contribute more to its greener and a more sustainable future. The sector is highly vulnerable to climate change, you all know. Looking into the future, the need to reduce emission provides a significant investment opportunity in green building for hotels, resorts, and restaurants. In addition, tourism offers investment opportunities related to new solutions and technologies to decarbonize the sector and to ensure climate resilient infrastructure through adoption solution. It is also important for the tourism industry to play a role in driving sustainability efforts. Let us join hands in promoting green investment in the global tourism industry and supporting climate resilient tourism and contribute to sustainable development. This is a message that is extremely timely given the movement both here and around the world to recognize impacts on the environment as a result of climate change and the strengthening conservation efforts. We thank the permanent secretary who was here with us and all participants who contributed to this conference and Expo 2023. We thank the government of Tanzania, our President Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, for recognizing the future growth of tourism industry that requires a more holistic approach, delivering not only economic but social, environmental, and cultural benefits as well. Tanzania's wildlife protected areas, national parks, conservation areas, game reserves, rivers, and the mountains are an incredible resource, attracting international and domestic visitors into the wilderness. We must all embrace the measures to manage them and ensure our natural environment is preserved for future generations. The Institute of Planters Arusha shall continue to bridge the gap that exists between the demand for and the supply of labor in the tourism industry. We shall continue offering excellent training to tourism and the hospitality students. Professionalism is important for the development of the tourism sector. With these skills and the tourism knowledge, tourism operators may be on the forefront of innovation, exploring new opportunities to deliver memorable and authentic experience to their customers by harnessing emerging technology. Of course, we anticipate further investment in tourism-related technology and the new cultural experiences. I would like to thank our panelists for agreeing to participate in this important platform. Your cooperation and the participation are a clear indication that the tourism sector, including government, labor, and the private sector, are capable and ready to work together to rebuild the tourism sector, of course, after COVID-19. I would also like to thank the moderators for the professional way in which they guided the discussions. A special word of thanks to the members of the public who joined us online. as I appreciate the quality of engagement that have taken place at this conference. I would like to thank the organizing committee for their good work. Congratulations to Dr. Salia. I know I call you Jamie. Once again, I express my gratitude to the Thinking Tourism Africa and the Expo campus Arusha for organizing this important event. I now declare that the Arusha International Tourism Conference is officially closed. Thank you. God bless you.
Bims.